and today we are going to talk about plant-based diet. So I'm going to start off by saying, imagine waking up full of energy, feeling well-rested and clear-headed. Imagine being able to reverse or prevent almost any medical diagnosis. Add more good years to your life and life to your years, losing weight and keeping it off. Imagine being part of a movement that is helping save millions of mistreated animals and saving our planet as well. Today, we're going to tell you that you can do all of these things just by switching to a plant-based diet.
So, for some of you, you might be saying, okay, what's a plant-based diet or lifestyle is what I like to call it, because some of you know what a vegetarian is. So I'm just going to go through what a vegetarian is, a vegan, and plant-based, so you kind of get the gist of it, because some of you are probably overwhelmed by all these terms that people throw around. First of all, I consider myself a vegetarian. Do I eat plant-based stuff? Yes, I would say 70% of the time I eat plant-based foods. And I'll get to that in a second. But what a vegetarian is not eating meat. Okay, so if you want to take it a step further, you get into being vegan, where you don't eat the eggs and the cheese and the dairy products. Some vegans even say, I don't want to wear leather belts and wool shirts, and they get all into what you wear and everything. But another thing I want to point out to you is that you can be a healthy vegan, but you can also be an unhealthy vegan. And there's unhealthy vegans are the ones that are loading everything with the oils, potato chips, Oreos. Those are all vegan. So you can eat those and say you're vegan, but you're not really being a healthy vegan. And that's where I think plant-based goes one step further. Plant-based is what I like to eat most of the time. And what that means is that you're worried, or not worried, but you're more health conscious. You are trying to eat whole foods. For example, your shopping looks like you're going through the produce aisle, maybe stopping in the middle for your beans, your grains, your oats, your millet, and amaranth. And if you're like, what in the world are those? You start to learn as you go. And there can be as little or as much out there that you want to learn as you want. But it is kind of fun. And I've been vegetarian now for 5 years, and Garrett, he's going on 7 here in a couple weeks. And so what it started out for me was I was pregnant, and we were moving from Alabama to California. And my family's in Ohio, Eric's is in South Carolina, so we're moving away from our family. So I am 1.5 months away from having a kid. We're moving, getting new doctors and all this. I'm reading up all this literature about what can I do to be this perfect mom to me? What do I feed this kid? How do I discipline him when he gets old enough? And how do I, do all these mom things? Because I want to be that mom that knows as much as I can and be able to back myself up as much as I can. So that's how I kind of got introduced into it. And then I saw documentaries like Forks Over Knives, which helped spark some interest in me. And then we just started doing little changes. For example, when we go out to eat, we'd say, okay, we're going to eat meat when we go out to eat, but we'll eat vegetarian when we're at home. Then we got to a point where we can eat vegetarian when we're out, so then we started eating vegetarian at home or out and eating more plant-based at home. So it just, for us, it kind of evolved. And for Laura, it was a little different, so I'll let her tell her story.
My story is kind of long. Well, not go anywhere. When I was 19, I lost my mom to breast cancer. That was her 3rd diagnosis. The first 2 diagnoses, she did chemo and she did radiation. And the 3rd time, she just said, I'm not going to do that. And And so she decided to go on this diet that she had found called the holistic diet, which was if it grew on this earth, that's what she ate. And so it was more of a plant-based diet. But back then, she didn't really have the internet, you know, so she did her best, and it wasn't very delicious. and I was a teenager, and I fought it very hard. But so throughout my life, though, I started eating healthy as I thought I could. Well, I didn't eat beef when I was 6 years old, or in 6th grade. I just said I was not gonna eat cow anymore. So that was already out of my diet. But so I started juicing, and you know, started to learn more about the lifestyle, and you know, I had children, and my son, he never had a solid bowel movement, and so I was looking for answers. And I never gave my children cow's milk, but they did eat cheese. And I had went to on a trip, and on the flight home, I watched Forks Over Knives, and I just knew that I was going to give this a go. And within 1 week of changing to plant-based diet, my son had a solid poop. And that right there, I knew that, okay, I'm gonna keep going. And within 3 weeks, the brain fog was gone. I had more energy. I felt human, you know, and I just felt really well. And I went on a plant-based retreat about 3 weeks into doing plant-based. I went on a retreat, and I learned how to cook. And that was the main thing everybody, I think, is scared of. What do I eat? You know, like, how do I do this? And I was still trying to cook, like, the meat in 2 sides, you know, but doing 3 sides. And that was overwhelming to make 3 different dishes, you know, that I was used to. So on this retreat, I learned how to combine foods. But anyway, during that time, I also became sober, and I quit drinking, and I quit smoking, and I just dove right into to save my life and my children's life. And so anyway, I've lost 20 pounds, and that makes me feel happy too. So anyway.
I have something. I was thinking of this last night, so she doesn't even know what I'm going to talk about right now. But last night I had this moment. I was, you know, in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I'm putting my toothpaste on, put it under the water, turn it off, and start brushing and stuff, you know, and I'm thinking, I wonder how much water I am saving by just, you know, turning off the water spigot. So, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, I got up because I couldn't sleep. I'm going to encourage you all to get your phones out and open up your calculator, because I want us all, I'm a previous math teacher, so, you know, we're doing math wrong today, guys. So grab your calculator. Okay, if you have one, if not, and you want to do it, I have mine up here. It's a handy dandy calculator. If anybody wants to have it, I'll hand it out. Okay. So usually you brush your teeth for 2 minutes. So if you brush your teeth for 2 minutes, that would be about 4-5 gallons. So we'll just call it 4 gallons. We brush our teeth 2 times a day. So how many gallons have we gone through? 8. 8 gallons. Okay. Now we need to see how much water are we saving for the whole year, 365 days. So what do we come up with? 8 times 365 is?
2920.
Okay, 2,920. Okay, I wanted to throw out something. One thing that I learned through all this, you know, researching and reading and things, is that 1 pound of beef, 2,500 gallons of water, just 1 pound of beef. Can you imagine? And we've been telling our kids, you know, turn off the faucet. And I say it to my own kids, and it's a good thing, but can we do one extra step? Can we take out meat for 1 meal? You know, that's big, you know. It's, you know, then I was like, okay, what about the shower? You know, we are in the shower for, they say, about 8.2 minutes. We'll call it 8 minutes. Okay, and we use a little over 2 gallons every minute. Okay, so what are we at? Okay, somewhere else, I think I don't even think I put that down. Around 17.2, I think, or give or take. And then if I got a shower every day, how much am I up to?
For a year, you mean?
For a year, yes. 365 days a year.
6,278.
Okay, 6,000. Yeah, so how many pounds of beef would that be? If 1 pound is 2,500,
3 pounds.
about 3 pounds? Okay, so just think of that amount of water that we use. And that's not to say, you know, animal waste is like our #1 polluter for water, you know? So when you think of meat in that sense, that's where it hits me hard. A lot of you know me from the garden, and you know, and you're like, oh, she's that girl that recycles everything, composts everything, and I do. And I try to, at least, as much as I can. And I want to make, you know, I want Garrett to see that, and Eric always is supportive of everything that I do and all my crazy thinking and thoughts. But, you know, some things I feel like we've gotten to say is normal in life. You know, why is it normal that we give our children candy and other treats when they're at school, when they're at the grocery store, they're getting, you know, cookies and lollipops, you take them to the library, after sports, everybody's like, oh, good job, here's a lollipop, here's a cookie. You know, it's, when we lived in California, we were there for 4 years, so Garrett's first 4 years of life were there, and never once, we went to the YMCA to many classes, they might give you a sticker, maybe, or a tattoo, you know, to put on your hand. They would give you, if you went to the grocery store, we went to Sprouts, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, none of them give you lollipops. They'll give you a sticker. That's fine. Some kids don't even, my kids like, I don't want it. You know, like, have your sticker. But, you know, so certain things like that got to me. So I wrote to Kroger's even and said, hey, why are we handing out candy all the time, you know? Can we take it after Whole Foods? Whole Foods gives out bananas, apples, oranges at their counter. So I suggested that, and what do you see at Kroger's now for kids?
Yeah.
There's a little fruit stand for them.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that it was my doing, because maybe somebody else wrote in too and had that same concern, but or maybe it was just coming. But if we put our concerns out there, then you never know who might take them and grab them and run. Other little things, why do we drive our kids everywhere? You know, all of us have probably walked many times to school and to other things, but, you know, we live 1.2 miles away from our school. Garrett and I walk or ride our bikes majority of the days. You know, we're trying to get that exercise, but then you get to school and you see people leaving their cars idling, even when it's, you know, not cold or hot outside. And you think of, I don't know, I think of all the exhaust, you know, where's all that exhaust going? It's going in our schools, it's going to the ones that are riding their bikes and stuff, trying to get their kid in safely. So I'm just, you know, things like that is always on my mind. Trying to think. Oh, the other day we went grocery shopping, and you know, we're all probably guilty of this at one time, is plastic bags. You know, we put a gallon of milk that has a handle into 2 bags. Why? Can't we just take that milk by the handle and take it out, you know? So I'm just encouraging you. I mean, I know this is plant-based talk, and I'm kind of getting off topic here a little bit, but, you know, I just want you to see that little things can make a difference. And if we just make a little change to the way we live, you can make a big impact on on your living, your health, and everything else. So one of the things that I've done was taking a plant-based cooking class through Forks Over Knives. And they teach you some of the tricks and tips and things of how to cook this way. So when you're doing a plant-based diet, I don't like the word diet because it sounds like it's short-term, you know, but it's a lifestyle. You know, I see it as, this is something I'm gonna, you know, devote to my life because I feel good. I feel like my son and my family feels good. But, you know, some of the things you can do at home, and if you want to learn more, I'm sure there's plenty of YouTubes out there. But one of the things is sauteing with water or broth. Instead of, putting the butter or the oil in the pan and putting your onions and mushrooms or whatever, you can just put a little bit of broth or water and saute it in that. And when it gets dried up, put a little bit more water or a little bit more broth. One thing that we do when we're eating vegetarian, we might get a pizza from like Aldi or something. I scrape off most of the cheese and then put on my vegetable toppings. Maybe it's a little wasteful, but I don't want that, as much of that junk in my system. And I know a lot of people think, oh, you're a vegetarian, so you must love the cheese. So they load your quesadillas with cheese. They load your pizzas with cheese, And the truth is, for me at least, maybe there's probably vegetarians out there that are not like me, but I want less of that stuff. I want to be more towards the plant side versus the dairy and the meats and all that. So I'm trying to think what other little tricks.
I know a lot of people ask me all the time, can you eat noodles? Can you eat bread? Yes, you can, because that's wheat. You do have to pay attention to some ingredients, but people also think we eat like rabbits. We do not. I am very full after every meal, and you do have to eat not massive, but a little bit more, and sometimes more often.
I gotta eat a massive amount.
Yeah,
You're talking about me.
Yeah. And kids love it too. You eat with your eyes, We're so accustomed to eating the American diet, which is brown, Think about chicken, think about, French fries, hamburgers. When you eat with your eyes, you're eating color, and it's the more color that you get, the more colorful you get.
Because you have all these the colors in your diet are your antioxidants, your vitamins, and everything like that. So one of the things that I would eat for a plant-based diet would be like what they call a Buddha bowl. And in a Buddha bowl, you usually have a grain of some sort, like brown rice, if I can spit it out, like a brown rice, and something starchy like a sweet potato or a potato.
And don't be scared of potatoes.
Yeah. Because so for vegetables like your broccoli or your cauliflower, some greens, maybe kale or spinach, and then a nice dressing, and maybe topped with avocado or nuts for your healthy fats. So that way you're getting a variety of food in there. And do you notice that I didn't say you put Cheerios on there, you don't put your, things that are processed. You want things that you can shop for, and the main ingredient is that thing. An apple is an apple. If you process it, you got applesauce. You process it even more, you have apple juice. So it's just try to keep to the whole as much as possible. I think what else? Protein, we get that question a lot. I'm sure you've probably asked a vegetarian, how do you get your protein if you're not eating that good meat? For that, most of the fruits and vegetables that we eat have protein in them.
Spinach, avocado, kale,
Beans.
nuts, seeds, mushrooms,
Broccoli.
asparagus. Yeah.
Beans.
Yeah, there's so many ways to get protein, and so many people worry about protein, and we don't need as much as they recommend either.
And it's if you think this is interesting or you want to learn more about it, I encourage you to go to the Forks Over Knives website or watch the movie, because you'll see when you see those success stories and people are changing their diet from the standard American diet to something that is plant-based or even a little healthier, being vegetarian or vegan, then they're getting off of their medications. You're seeing people saying, I used to be diabetic, or I used to, have heart issues, and now I'm off of, many of my medications. You hear success stories like that all the time, where I had bad acne, and once I dropped dairy, I was, better. So it's nice to hear success stories. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian, I'm just somebody who's read a lot about it and am interested in it. And let's see, You want to?
Yeah, I'll just tell you a couple of interesting facts to me about the environment. And I know a lot of you guys are wanting to protect the environment. So I've got a couple of things. So the meat and dairy production now contributes more to climate change than gasoline companies, according to foodrevolution.com. A study released in July 2018 found that the world's top 5 meat and dairy producers combined emit more greenhouse gases than human emissions. If these meat and dairy companies continue to grow based on current production, by 2050, they will be responsible for 81% of global emission targets. According to the Federation of American Society for Experimental Biology, producing plant-based meat alternatives generates 10 times fewer greenhouse gas emissions. 320 million vegans would reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the agriculture by some of 28%. So if we look at the vegan, like producing kidney beans, like production of 1 kilogram of kidney bean protein requires 18 times less land, 10 times less water, 9 times less fuel, 12 times less fertilizer, and 10 times less pesticide than the production of 1 kilogram of beef protein, according to Harwatt and others. Lowering the consumption of animal production would by default increase the demand of plant-based foods, thereby increasing the demand for agriculture. As plants grow, they consume more and more CO2 and emit more oxygen, unlike animals who need oxygen and pollute the environment. To me, that is like, whoa. Yeah. So even if you just did like a meatless Monday, or like twice a week, you would be helping the planet tremendously.
And just again to reinforce that, think about all the corn and the soybean that we're feeding to our animals, and we're pumping them with hormones, and
and you're ingesting that. That you see the corn on the side of the road that's dead. Like it's just like, why is it even there? Well, that's the feed, for the animals, and it's GMO corn.
So, and if you watch some of these documentaries, you'll see that the chickens are getting bigger, the cattle are getting bigger, and they're just not able to stand up sometimes.
What did it used to take, like 16 weeks to raise a chicken, and now it's 6 weeks?
Yeah, and they can barely stand.
Yeah.
So, the amount of, the corn and soybeans to feed all these animals, we could bypass the animals and have a better diversity of fruits and vegetables for ourselves, or we can
feed the world.
And feed good food, have a nice diverse vegetables and fruits and beans and things, and not have to worry about cutting down more forests and more of this and that to put more animals on our planet, so I don't know, just some food for thought, I guess. And
So we're all spiritual people, so I'm going to go down that road for a second. When I first switched to plant-based, I really had no idea how my spirituality would unfold. It was almost like everything just became more clear to me, and I knew where I wanted to be. I felt like a shift of consciousness. I felt lighter and connected to every living thing. Ahashma, I don't know. What do you say? Ahimsa. Is important in many religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, which means non-harming, and all living things have spiritual energy. People use the phrase, I've heard people say this, but God put the animals on earth so we can eat them. And this may have been true in the beginning of time when we celebrated their life using all the animal for survival. But now the animals are mistreated so badly, and we're eating and they're consuming their fear and their sickness and their pain. And this is all negative vibrations that we are allowing inside our bodies. From the book Be Here Now by Ron Doss, he talks about how the Indian gurus were vegetarian because they believed that when the animals die, they experience anxiety and fear, with testosterone and adrenaline coursing through their blood, and then we ingest their energy. And I did not start out at all thinking about the animals. I was all about trying, and you too, just trying to get healthy. And the more we learn, the more
Kind of like it feels right.
Yes, I mean we're part of a big movement of helping not only the animals but the environment and our bodies and you guys.
And I was going to say, when we do our talk back in a little bit, we have some food labels and things that we want to discuss with you. We have some items that we'll put out, and we'll do a little game and talk about that. We brought some food along so you could, taste some plant-based foods. We have, I made a potato and green bean salad. And I also made what I call date turtles. Dates, if you've never had them, taste kind of like caramel. So a little bit of the date, some dark chocolate, and pecans is a nice little treat. And
I made a chickpea cookie dough that you guys are gonna love.
and then Will and Julie brought some
Yes.
chocolate chia seed, or I should say Julie. So she made some chocolate chia seed pudding for all of you to try too. And one is chocolate and one's chocolate peanut butter. So, and chia seeds are just this little bitty seed that's known to kind of help you make you feel fuller, but it's full of like antioxidants and protein nutrients. Yeah. So it's one of those, superfoods.
Yeah.
So we hope that you can go out there and enjoy trying a few of our wonderful things, and we'll see you at Talk.
Well, one more thing,
you got
really
one more
quick.
thing?
Yes. I want to say that 15 Titans players are plant-based. So you can be strong and still eat plant-based. I mean, that speaks power.
Hey,
Yeah.
Brian Arakpo, Derek Morgan, Jarrell Casey, all vegans.
Yeah.
And I just saw
Brian Arakpo.
I just saw a video the other day. Well, is even thinking about going that way.
Yeah.
So there's a video out there. Check that one out.
And Albert Einstein was known to be a vegetarian, and Madonna.
Everyone knew that.
Well, and Brad Pitt.
Material girl.
Or should we take questions now, or is that talk back stuff? Talk back stuff? Okay. So I guess that's all that I have. Is there anything else?
No, I'm good.
I'll go figure it out.
Well, hopefully you guys gathered that switching to a plant-based diet it helps the environment, it helps your health and the animals, and you have the power to change all of this.
Even if it's just a little step.
Yes.
That's what we want to take, just a little step. And you might be surprised, as I was, because I grew up, I'm sure like many of you, I had the Pop-Tarts, the toaster strudels, the hamburger helpers, the, processed food galore. That's what our generation grew up with. So, anyway,
Thank
go
you.
out and enjoy. Thank you.